Welcome to our overview of the workshop Navigating Graduate School for Students with Disabilities, a collaboration between the Wellness and Counseling Services at the Graduate Center and Student Disability Services. My name is Claire Wilson, and I manage student disability services here at the Graduate Center. And I want to give you a little bit of an introduction to our office. The mission of Student Disability Services is to provide and support equal access to all programs, services, and activities of the Graduate Center. Although it is a group effort, we do want the whole community to be considering accessibility. Our office The function of our office is to carry out this mission by providing academic adjustments and accommodations um, in this academic setting, although we can also advise in other contexts, such as the environment here at the Graduate Center, as well as employment you might have as a graduate student. The definition of disability or a person with a disability is anyone with a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more aspects of life. And in this case, of course, would interfere in your academic work. A disability could be visible or invisible. It could be permanent or it could be temporary. So we do provide accommodations for, um, acute illnesses, injuries that will eventually be resolved, as well as accommodations for disabilities that are permanent or long term. I- as I mentioned in our part of our mission, we do it is our best effort to create equal access, but that does not mean the same access. So that's why accommodations are necessary. For example, you wouldn't expect somebody who wears glasses to take an exam without them, or somebody who is left-handed to write with their left hand to have the same experience. So the point of the accommodations is to ensure access to everybody, but not necessarily have the exact same experience. Student disability services are available for all students with a documented disability, regardless of residency status. So, if you weren't sure whether the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act applies to you, it does in this setting. And you should reach out to us for services. The process that we have here at the Graduate Center feels pretty standard for higher ed, getting services in higher ed. In higher education, which might not have been the case in K-12 if you had accommodations then, it is the student's responsibility to initiate services. In most cases, student disability services at the Graduate Center will reach out to faculty and staff on your behalf to arrange accommodations unless you would prefer to do it yourself. Um, and because of this, you have the option not to discuss your accommodations with faculty and staff directly. We can do that for you because we believe that you're in your field, you're in your profession, and we would hope that most accommodations could happen kind of behind the scenes so that you can just carry out your work as a scholar. Um, when it comes to accommodations, it involves an interactive process. So generally, I will meet with students once they reach out to us. Um, I would review any documentation you would provide, and between our conversation and the documentation, I would draft an email of accommodations, and if it looks suitable, then our office can reach out to your professors. Now, the interactive process could continue there because if a professor says, "Hey, this accommodation really runs counter to the nature of a particular assignment," or it just, it goes against the pedagogical goals of this course, we would have to go back to the drawing board, discuss with you what might be an appropriate alternative. Um, but in many cases, there are some pretty standard accommodations that are not really going to cause any issues. Our office provides accommodations for your courses, but this also applies to your degree more broadly. So that could be for milestones, including any qualifying, comprehensive exams you might have, your first and second docs, any types of, examination in that type of setting, as well as perhaps the time to reach the milestones. We're also here to help maintain communication. It does go two ways. So we do want students to let us know if they need anything and also to do it as soon as possible. So advance notice is really helpful. Accommodations always have a better chance at succeeding if we're able to plan. Um, but we also try to maintain communication with students as well as faculty as needed. As I mentioned before, students should notify our offices of any exams or other um, timely matters that require accommodations from our office as soon as you know about them. So, at your earliest opportunity, students should also let us know if you have any concerns. If you feel like your professor's not carrying out the accommodation that was determined in the letter, or if you need some support, even with accommodations, it's things are not quite working out, let us know as early as you sense it's not working, and then we can kind of go back and consider what other things, where the barriers are and how we can address those. It is much easier to stop an accommodation or cancel an exam arrangement than to plan at the last minute. So even if you aren't sure if you really need something, still reach out. We can discuss it. We can always email your professor, but if you don't need anything, that's okay too. Um, as I mentioned before, I hinted at least, students with disabilities are entitled to accommodations in general, but a specific accommodation is not guaranteed. So part of this interactive process is determining, if the accommodation that is in your documentation or something that you are requesting isn't really going to fit this what might be appropriate. And so that could be a conversation that would start between our office and you, but might also involve your professor, might involve your program, um, and any other stakeholders uh in the accommodations. And services can be initiated at any time during the semester. So if you had accommodations prior to grad school and you didn't really think you were going to need them here, but you're starting to feel like, hey, I really should have my accommodations back. Reach out to us. Because even if you don't reach out to us in August or early September, you still can initiate services. However, barring unforeseen circumstances, which they happen. We know in this office, we know that happens. It is expected that requests for accommodations be made in advance to allow for planning. And therefore, accommodations cannot really be retroactive. We can't apply an accommodation to something that's already passed. So that's why it's really important to reach out to us as early as possible. Accommodations can only be applied going forward. All right. And just to wrap up before I pass this on to the wellness and counseling services, confidentiality is really important here. So you are not required, as a student, not required to disclose information about a disability to faculty or program staff, but you can do so. You can choose to do so, but you should not feel compelled to do so. Our office, Student Disability Services, will not disclose a student's disability when communicating with faculty or program staff unless you would like us to. And then, it's really your decision. You initiate the services with us, you let us know, at the beginning of a semester if you can, if you want services that semester, and then also let us know if you want us to disclose anything about your circumstances. We keep documentation on file to inform the appropriate accommodations and we'll communicate what the accommodations are, but we won't say what the documentation says about a disability. Now, some students feel it's important, a part of their identity to disclose their disability, but others do not want to disclose. So we respect either choice. And that is up to you. All right. That's it for my part of this overview. Student Disability Services are located within Student Affairs on the 7th floor at the Graduate Center. Not sure which, can I make this so that I'm going the proper direction? Again, my name is Claire Wilson. I manage Student Disability Services. And we're located at 7301. And here's my contact information. Phone number is 212-817-7400. And my direct email is cwilson1@gc.cuny.edu. And we also have a general email that is disability services at gc.cuny.edu. We have a quick web address, which is cuny.is/GC Disability Services. And we also have an academic commons page at disabilityservices.commons.gc.edu. And now I'm going to pass this over to Ryan. And
Hi, I'm Ryan Savino. I'm a clinical fellow at the Wellness Center, aka Student Counseling Services. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we offer before I go into some of the highlights of the workshop we recently ran. So the Wellness Center is located on the 6th floor of the GC in Suite 6422. And we offer individual therapy, group therapy, couples therapy, academic consultations, which are probably particularly relevant to the workshop today. And we also assist people with referrals for counseling or psychiatry. We run workshops such as this one, and we upload wellness videos like the one we're recording right now. Um, so with a new diagnosis or an existing diagnosis, as Claire spoke about, there is potentially a decision that a student makes in any of their encounters, whether it's in their role as a student or as an employee, if they have a campus or school-related job, such as a research assistant position, et cetera, to potentially disclose or not disclose. And that's a topic that if a student chose to come to the Wellness Center, we could potentially talk to them about in either counseling or an academic consultation, sort of weighing the potential pros and cons of what to share about oneself and your different roles, the variety of roles that students have here. And that might change across time and in different contexts. Different aspects of your identity or diagnosis might become more salient. There are a variety of different ways that students could choose to advocate based off on their accessibility needs or potentially other aspects of their identity as well. Like Claire mentioned, it's never too late. Exploring your options early in the semester can help at the same time. And there are a variety of resources that you might use to either try to advocate directly for yourself or to use the help of someone in Student Disability Services or at the Wellness Center um, to help you in that process. So as Claire brought up, there's the option to have Student Disability Services directly communicate with your professors, depending upon your relationship and your needs in that particular role. On your behalf. So I spent a little bit, wanted to spend a little bit of time giving an overview of some of the organization and planning strategies we spoke about in the workshop. These are really things that you could flesh out more if you were to come to student counseling services for an academic consultation or individual counseling. I really want to underscore here in the workshop and at the Wellness Center that these would be responsive to your particular needs. So it's helpful when talking about strategizing to consider what works best for you rather than what might work best for someone else. And so there's a variety of different strategies that students might come to help them to organize the pretty tremendous workload that a lot of grad students have. Um, for instance, some students will find that it's helpful to have like a digital record of all their deadlines and assignments. They might use the built-in calendar on their computer and their phone. If they sync up, that might be great. Other people find that it's helpful for them to have the flexibility of a handwritten uh, accounting of all of their tasks. And so there's this approach called bullet journaling that some students might find very helpful. And it's a way to track and to manage your tasks to sort of avoid losing anything in that process. Some of the impediments to uh, organization and planning are uh, uh, can be explored in student counseling services as well. So some of them might be mood related or uh, manifest as negative thoughts. So some of the strategies that students might find helpful are kind of the bread and butter of different therapy approaches that we practice at the Wellness Center. Um, one of the strategies I have as an example here is called postponing. And it essentially involves trying to set aside a distracting thought that pops into your head and keeps you from working towards a particular goal that you might have, setting it aside for later. There are multiple things to consider when you're uh, setting out to organize and plan for your life in the grad center. So some important things to keep in mind are the urgency and the importance of a particular task. So that might help you to organize to schedule your day regarding what should I do now, what can I put off, what is maybe not that important, or what could I delegate to somebody else in my life. Other factors to consider are the ease, particularly if a task is very difficult and would require a lot of time to kind of percolate. Um, that could be a factor that you could use when it comes to planning out your semester, for instance. Other factors are the return on the time investment. So thinking about like what will I get out of this action or activity in my day? Like how useful is this to me over the long term when it comes to like investing in my own desires and my career or maybe more social aspects of my life. Uh, Procrastination is often a challenge that can come up for students who are coming to student counseling services. And so there's a variety of different just ways that a student might work on addressing that when they come to see us. And so uh, figuring out how to break down tasks into SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, is potentially a really useful strategy. Um, the student might explore trying to respond differently to really uncomfortable feelings that are getting in the way. So they might practice grounding techniques, grounding exercises. Um, they might try to address some unhelpful behaviors or beliefs that they have developed over time, potentially in response to some really aversive events. Or the adage, eating the frog is sometimes helpful to keep in mind. And that's basically the idea of eating the biggest frog first or trying to take a bite out of the most difficult thing in your day first, if you know that you have a propensity to potentially put that stuff off. Um, Managing distractibility can be a really useful thing to focus on as a grad student. And so some of the most helpful ways to do that are really to work on um, perhaps first structuring your environment. So thinking about where you work best, where you personally work best. and where you work best, depending upon the tasks. That might be task specific. If there are things that require more creativity from you, or more stimulation, perhaps an environment like a coffee shop could be helpful. If you require intense concentration or are prone to distractibility, a place that has fewer distractions, maybe like the library that's quiet and has less access to things that might derail you from your routine, can be helpful. It's also productive to consider, what are my daily rhythms? Am I kind of a night owl or an early bird? When can I structure? How can I structure my day so that I can be the most effective? Or do I struggle with transitioning between tasks, and how can I manage that? Does it help to again attend to the external structure of my environment? So is it helpful for me to move from one place to the other when I know I need to go from kind of one mode of my day to the other? Or tending to your mood. If you know that there's a particularly difficult anniversary coming up for you, or if you notice that your mood tends to fluctuate, maybe because of a diagnosis in the past that's bringing you to the wellness center and potentially student disability services, it can be helpful to try to plan around that, potentially with supportive student disability services and your professors. So that is the gist of what I brought to our workshop. And so this is my contact slide. Again, I'm a clinical fellow at the Wellness Center, and we're located in 6422 in the Grad Center. And here's our general email. It's a good way to reach out to us if you have any interest in counseling or academic consultation or some of the other services I spoke about. And here is our website as well and our phone number. So thank you for your time.